Please go ahead, Mandy.
Okay, so this is the final session of day one, and so congratulations to everybody who's made it this far. There's we sort of thought, well, what would we put together for somebody who's never worked on open source before? And for us, this is actually a very new memory because when we started on Egeria, none of us had worked on open source. We had never used GitHub or any of the tools that we use today as part of it. So this was really what advice would we give to people who were starting into open source on their own? And so it does actually reflect what we discovered over the last 2 or 3 years. So we want to talk a little bit about mindset. Often people have a slightly different mindset around what open source is and how to interact. And then I'll talk a little bit about the different communication mechanisms we have. And we've covered quite a lot of them today, and there was questions on the community calls and things like that. So we can just talk about those again. All right, so mindset is really about how you approach the project, and generally, I mean, open source projects are often they're innovating, and they're innovating very rapidly. So and they're not constrained by the boundaries of products. Products have to fit in markets. They typically have to be something that people recognize that they're going to buy. And so they end up getting siloed. And that's actually part of the problem that we're solving with metadata, is that there are a lot of products, each in their own silo, and we're going to connect those silos together. And the only way you can do it is open source, because there isn't a market for something that connects everything together. So, as I say, it's a highly collaborative environment, but basically, people aren't doing this for the good of their own health. They're doing it because their organisation wants that particular technology to do certain things. And when we were being educated on open source, we were very lucky to have a session with Alan Gates, who was one of the initial founders of Hortonworks. And he said basically everyone is scratching their own itch. So if you come to a project and you hate that API, well, raising an issue and saying, I hate that API, well, everyone will go, oh, that's interesting. But if you really hate it, the way you get it fixed is that you start to change it. You basically start to talk about how you would want it and contribute to the community, and maybe somebody will come and help you and work with you. But it's that process of you giving into the community and being the driving force behind that change. It's not, you can't just sort of, it's not like a relationship with a vendor where you can say, I've paid you money, you must do this. It's all about being a part of it. So the other part of it is building trust and communicating. So tomorrow when we talk about contributions, step one is to explain what you're doing. Sometimes we get contributions from people that are quite big, and they've done a lot of work. It's not quite in the right place and it doesn't quite fit. And so it needs rework, whereas a little bit of discussion up front would have helped. So I think actually you're basically asking to join a group of friends who are working on something to make a change. So it's about influence and trust is really the way you want to be thinking about it, rather than sort of demanding and things like that. So step one is always get connected, become part of the community, listen to the discussions, and start to be a name that people recognize, because then they'll start to listen to you. The other thing is that as you come and join and you start to make contributions, we will start to recognize you through the badge system. And the badge system is something that belongs to you personally. It doesn't belong to your company. It's something that can go on your CV. And that and your GitHub profile actually shows that you made contributions to the community that were recognized. So we have 2 badges. We have the contributor badge, which is for people who've made multiple quality contributions, and then it takes one maintainer to go, this person deserves a badge, and they get it. And then the second level is the maintainer, and this is somebody who's going to be given right access to the repository. So you have to build up, again, it's about building up trust, that you're not going to do something horrible to the repository as a maintainer. And there are a whole set of requirements around managing and helping people who are contributors bring new code into the project, and doing these types of sessions. That's the sort of thing that we expect maintainers to do. When you're only a maintainer, once you get a contributor badge, you're a contributor forever. But you're only a maintainer while you're active, and then you can become an emeritus maintainer as you move, if you move off to a different project. And then we have the project leader, which is me, and I'm elected by the maintainers, and they can get rid of me at any time if they like. But the idea is, again, this is not something that's assigned by a company or the ODPI board. It's actually the community. The project leader is recognized, is actually only a leader by the good grace of the rest of the maintainers in the project. And so we have, like any open source project, we have a document. I'll click on it so you can see, that talk about what it's like to be a member and how we expect people to behave. And we talk about the different types of roles and how you become a maintainer or not maintainer, and where the meetings are and how each of the different communication mechanisms are used. So that's what we call, this is the operations guide. And then the community guide. So this is more about if you want to know how the project actually runs. And then the community guide, which was the other one, which we talked about earlier on, is where this is how you sign up, basically. This is the links to the different comms channels and stuff like that. So they're complementary documents, but probably used at different times. So that's where we are with the community. I'm not sure whether, this is, I think I've covered everything. So I don't know if anyone wants to comment or.
Wouldn't you, why not mention the weekly calls you have?
Okay. Yes, so we do. So that was a comment earlier on. So we actually do have 2 weekly calls. It's wrong, actually. It says both on a Tuesday. They're actually both on a Thursday. So that's a mistake. It's always funny when you project something, how all the mistakes leap out at you. That's been there a long time. These are just regular calls where we get together. Sometimes we come to the call and we say, has anyone got anything to discuss? And it's like, no. So the one today was about 10 minutes, but sometimes, even though they're scheduled for an hour, we're still talking about a particular topic going forward. The reason that they're European time is that most of the maintainers happen to be in Europe. We're just centering around where the most of the work is. The community call is more for people wanting to know. It's more about use cases and running the community and things like that. We will have more calls if it makes sense. We will have more. I mean, ultimately, I'd love to have a series of work groups, and those work groups are working on a particular use case or a module or whatever that are bringing forward. And as we grow as a community, that will have to happen. Because, as I say, most people don't want to know everything about Egeria. They just want to know the bit that they care about. So that's why we'll have more calls. Everything. I think, yes, they're always recorded so that you can get a recording of any meeting at any that we have. But however, only the community call is limited. Anything more that I've forgotten?
Just to say, I think one of the other good things about working in open source is trying to always stitch communities together. So if you see something that related to Egeria, or we, depend on something, we find an issue where we're using a piece of technology and we've got a problem, then we try and work with those communities, or point people to those communities, raise issues, etc. So you end up with this interconnected web between us, which I think that's part of being part of the broader ecosystem, the broader community. And I think that can help stimulate ideas, etc. as well.
Some communities, like if you're going to be a contributor, require that a CLA be signed. Do you have anything like that?
So we use what's called the developer certificate of origin. Mm-hmm. So the way it works is let me so that where it is. It's probably actually linked. From Sensible, it will be linked, not from the code of conduct, from the operations guide. I think it's there. Yeah, so let's see if I can find it. What I'm going to do, I want to find it by. It's not there. I think I've got a question mark in its title, so it just doesn't help. Right. So let's find it on GitHub. So basically, whenever we make a contribution to Egeria, we sign it, and that signing is saying that you agree with something called the DCO. There it is. One of the DCO. It basically says that you have the right to contribute this, and you're effectively handing over ownership to the Linux Foundation. So this is what, every time you contribute, this is what you're saying. So we don't do one certificate, we do a grant effectively of the rights to stuff every single time we do a commit. So that's what people are signing up, and as I say, it's done on every piece of contribution.